Hello, welcome to this tutorial. So this is going to be like a brief introduction to how to develop REST API using Django Rest Framework. So I'm just gonna try to make it simple. So I'm going to overlook a few examples, but we can build on top of that on next videos or something like that. And the most important thing here is just to show you how to get started. So how to install the Django Rest Framework and how to do the initial configuration and what usually I do to develop APIs. So I'm going to give you some hands-on examples. So I'm just going to get started here by creating a Django project. So I'm just using PyCharm here, but you can use whatever IDE that you want. And I'm going to call my project Pig Bank. So it's going to be like a personal finance app or something. Okay, so VM, right. Okay, so here we have the basic structure of the project. We can just get started here by trying to run the server and see if everything is working. So let's see. Okay, so now we can just install Django Rest Framework, pip install Django Rest Framework. And now we gotta add here to our settings REST Framework. And now before we move forward, let's just create an app. Usually I like to start by creating an app called core, and then after things start to grow, I break it down in other apps. But then just for the sake of this example, we can just put the entire application here. And as I was mentioning, I thought about creating this like a simple personal finance app where we can log some transactions. So gonna need a model called transaction, and maybe we have some amount that should be like a decimal, some like 15 digits might be okay, and decimal place too for the cents. And then maybe we want to have like the currency, and then the currency could be like another model. So we have like the code being like, for example, Brazilian real, like BRL, or American dollar, USD. So we have the code, and the code may be unique. And we can have like a friendly name, so we can just call it name. Maybe 32 should be enough. And yeah, so here we can create like a foreign key to this currency. And now if the currency is deleted, we should protect. So we don't want to, for example, delete a currency and drop all the transactions related to this currency. And usually we set a related name, so transactions. And what else? We need the date, time field, and like some description, some free text, like optional, and maybe just another like foreign key we can create as a category. And just to keep things simple, we just add the name and then category. Oops. Now on delete, set no, and then we let this be no. And related name, also transactions. Okay, this should be enough. So basically here we have our main model, which is a transaction, which is where we are going to save like the purchase that we make, and the category is going to be like if it's a personal purchase, if it's health, medical, pets, this kind of thing, so we can categorize what kind of debits we have here. And the currency is going to be like so we can, for example, accept like several types of currency. If I buy something from the internet, it could be in dollar, but if I'm purchasing something here in my city, it's going to be in reais. So yeah, and then let's just set the toString method, maybe the name to be better, so we have a nice string representation of our models. And here should be something like the amount, currency code, and the date. Okay, so let's go on and create this initial set of migrations. Oops, we didn't add the core app. Let's try again. Okay. All right, so we have all our models here, and maybe the first thing that we want to do is like creating a list endpoint, so we can make like a GET request and list all the available currencies that we have in the project. So let's maybe create here, and then let's go to the Django Rest Framework. So here maybe on the views, nope, generic views. Yeah, so we need something like that. So this is a read-only endpoint, so I don't want anyone to create new currencies like using these those endpoints, and I just want to list the data here. So can call it like currency list API view, and then we are going to need to define like a query set. Going to be like just all currencies that we have on the database. So this is I'm importing from the models file that we just created here. And now we need to serialize this data. So we're going to need to create a file here, serialize, and then we can call this currency serializer. Okay. Then we import this from REST framework.serializers. And here we just need to, it's very similar to the Django form models, not model forms, I mean. So you need to define which is the model that you're creating this serializer for, and then list the fields. So let's put just everything like the ID and the code and the name. Should be everything that we have here. And then on the view we define which is the serializer class, and then we import this from the file that we just created. And now, just like a regular Django view, we need to add this to our URLs conf. So just this file here. We won't need the admin. So let's just remove this from here. And then we can add a path like currencies and from core. Let's just import the entire views module. And yeah, and as this is a class-based view, we should just add an as view. We can give it a name like currencies. And okay, so this should be enough. And now we can see if it's working. So I'm going to use Postman to make those requests. So let's create here a new collection, piggy bank. And now inside here, the collection, let's create a new request like list currencies. So it's going to be HTTP local server. Oops. So this here is the URL that we just created. So this is this path here, right? And this should be a GET request. And okay. So here we can see the status. So it's 200. So it means the request was successful, and it's just returning an empty list. So let's just add some currencies here using the Python console to test if it's really working. So from core.models, import currency. So let's just add some to the database. So first I'm going to use like United States dollar. Oops. And then we can add like code for euro. And just another one. Like BRL, Brazilian. Okay, so what I did here is just using the bulk create from the query set manager. So I just added here 3 instances to our database, and then if we make a query here, so we should get them all, and now we should see some data here. Okay, so there you go. So we have here the ID, the code, and the name, right? So this is going to be like a support endpoint to building, if you think about like creating an Android app or iPhone app or a web application using React, Angular, or something like that. This could be like an endpoint on the configuration page that you can search for the available currencies that application support, and you can use it to build some forms using it as a list of values and things like that. And okay, so this is the most like simple endpoint. And then now let's create like a ViewSet so we can save and store some data related to the category. So on the category, I want the user to be able to list, delete, create, just those simple operations there. So, and for that, we are going to use the ViewSets. So let's go back here to the documentation. So we need ViewSets, and we are going to use the ModelViewSet. So basically it's very similar to the list view, and the only thing is that it's going to expose a few more operations other than listing. So you're going to have all those post, batch, put, delete, and everything in a single view. So okay, so we need to import this one here, and we can create it here, like category ViewSet, ModelViewSet, and just import this also from the REST framework. So here, very similar to the currency. And now we need to create a serializer for the category. So maybe we can just copy that. And then we don't have the code, it's just the name and the ID. Then we can import this one. Right. And now there is just a small detail here on how you're going to add these view sets to the to your URLs, because this is not like a regular class-based views. So these actually need a router, and then it's here on the docs, routers here. So we are going to need this piece of code here, and then we are going to import and then instantiate a simple router, and then that's how we register using like a prefix, and then the Django Rest Framework is going to build all the URLs on top of that, and after that we can assign the URLs from the router to your URLs pattern, or you can just connect those two variables, so you can have both. I'm going to show you how. Just copy this, and then I can import. And now we need to register. So we are going to views.category ModelViewSet, and then call it categories. And here we don't need to add the forward slash, because the router is going to add it for us. And usually I like to define the base name as being the name of the model, but in singular, because it's going to add some like category list and category delete, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. We can test it later. I'm just mixing here the double quotes and single quotes because nowadays I'm used to use black, so I don't really mind anymore. So I just leave black to add the formatting for me. But anyway, so here, since we are using this URL, we can just concatenate here. Okay, so this should be enough for us to have this basic operation. So let's jump to Postman again, and maybe now we can create like a new folder here, categories. So for example, let's add a new request like list categories. So it's going to be a get request, and now it's going to be categories. We can test it. Okay, so nothing here, so it's empty, but now we are going to be able to create a new category using the Postman itself. So what we are going to do here is duplicate this one, and we are going to call it like create category. And then let's make this a post request. So we create, and then here on the body, just missed the, yeah, it's going to be this endpoint. And here on the body, we are going to send the payload name, for example, health. Okay, so it returned a 201 created. Let's create a new one like home, and maybe pets. And then if we go back here, we should be able to see all those categories that we just created. Okay, so now we need an endpoint to retrieve just a single category. Oops, I didn't save here. Just a sec. Yeah, so it's showing as a post now. And now if I want to retrieve just a single category, I can pass here the ID on the URL. Let's just retrieve category. So if 1 is health, 2 should be home, right? And 3, oops, pets. And if I try to add, to retrieve one that doesn't exist, should return for us 404, not found. Okay, so this is working. And now we can create a patch or a put in a very similar way to update the data. So let's do a patch. And here on the body, we just pass, oops, the new name, like health/medical. So we just updated here the entry. So if we look back here on the list, so now it's updated. And the last view that the ViewSet provides is a delete view. So we are going to make a delete request. Okay, we don't need to pass anybody here. Okay, so 204, no content. So it means we got a success. And if we look back, so it's removed now. So this here is actually a collection of basic operations that you are going to need in some case, but then you just gotta pay attention when you use the ViewSet, is because it's automatically like sharing all those endpoints, and sometimes you don't need. So what you can do is, for example, you can use the generic ViewSet and just use the mixins for the operations that you need. And then Django Rest Framework already have some like shorthands here. For example, read-only model view. So you just get the retrieve and the list. But then I'm going to show those later on in detail. But for now, that's all. And see you on the next video.